I'm James Mitchell.
And I'm Helen Warren. And in this week's Finance Friday, we're going to be talking about tax allowable expenses.
One of the main questions we get asked at D&T is what sort of expenses can you claim? Today, we're going to be talking about expenses specifically for trade businesses. Now, a business expense is an expense which is wholly and exclusively for business purposes. And in this video, we'll be covering allowable expenses for a few such key areas as motor, travel, and using home as an office, entertaining, gifts and clothing.
It's important to remember that this video doesn't cover every single allowable expense. So if you have any further questions, please contact us or check the gov.uk website to find out more.
Let's start with motoring expenses. Business motoring can be claimed as a deduction in the account. This includes fuel, repairs, MOT and any of the servicing costs incurred in running your vehicle. Now, it's important you keep any receipts to substantiate any claims you make. If your vehicle is used for business and private use, an adjustment will need to be made to disallow the private element only. You can download the free D&T Chartered Accountants app, which is available both on Android and Apple devices, which can keep track of your mileage for you. This will allow you to be able to accurately gauge the split between business and private mileage. Capital allowances can also be claimed as a deduction against the value of the vehicle over the period in which you own the vehicle within the business.
All other business travelling costs are also allowable. This could include rail, bus and airfare. If you're travelling abroad, as with all expenses, please be aware the costs claimed should be wholly and exclusively for business purposes only. An example of an allowable cost would be your travel expenses incurred in taking part in a competition. If you entered a one-day competition, it would be acceptable to have flights and accommodation for a day around the competing dates. However, HMRC would probably disallow it if you booked a 1 or 2 week stay and tried to claim the full costs as business. They would question if your costs are private and if you have enjoyed a holiday at the same time, and therefore may disallow a proportion or even the full sum.
Another common query we get at D&T is about entertaining and gifts. Costs for client entertaining, such as taking a client or potential client out for lunch, are not deemed an allowable expense. Even if the meal is wholly for business purposes, the costs would not be an allowable deduction under HMRC guidelines.
However, staff entertaining is allowable. You must make sure the costs do not exceed £150 per person per year or a taxable benefit will apply. This is where the employee will pay tax and national insurance on the full benefit and the employer will pay additional national insurance. Providing the total annual cost of staff entertaining does not exceed this, no taxable benefit will be due. If you are doing multiple events, for example, a Christmas party, summer barbecue, various lunches, the £150 cap should be taken into consideration. It is important that any event should be open to all staff for the £150 allowable deduction to apply.
Gifts purchased for staff, however, are allowable, providing they don't exceed that £50 limit. Should the gift go above this, the cash value would be taxable on the relevant member of staff's income. There are certain exceptions, such as long service awards, which have different rules.
If you use part of your home as an office to carry out business duties, you are entitled to claim a proportion of running costs of your home as a business expense. For example, if you have 6 rooms in your home and 1 room is designated as your office, you will be entitled to claim 1/6 of your running costs apportioned by the number of hours used for business. It is essential that you keep all receipts such as utility bills and council tax so that your claims can be backed up if HMRC challenge this. There are useful apps like Receipt Bank which can help you keep track of receipts. For the same reason, it's also best to cover yourself by keeping a diary of when you worked from home and reasons why. HMRC also offer a simplified flat rate expense which can be claimed. This eliminates the need to calculate the actual costs. Should you choose this option, HMRC set rates are based on the amount of hours worked from home each month. Again, make sure you keep your receipts so the maximum claim can be calculated and included as an expense in your accounts. If you also have a business premises, please ensure that the expenses claimed are accurate and reflect a true picture of the hours worked.
The last topic we're going to look at in this video is clothing. HMRC is strict on what clothing is allowed. They say that everyone has to wear something for warmth and decency. So any piece of clothing that could conceivably be worn outside of the workplace is not allowed. It doesn't matter if you do or not. What matters is that you could. However, clothing purchased wholly and exclusively for business purposes can be deducted. The cost of health and safety equipment or protective clothing is allowed, as are staff uniforms, such as an embroidered polo shirt. But an expensive pair of trainers, which could be worn outside of the workplace, would not be allowable. For example, a swimming school would not be able to claim for swimsuits. This is because you could use this conceivably outside of the work environment. However, if they were, for example, an embroidered uniform version with the business logo on, then it can be claimed.
So that's a roundup of some of the most common questions we get asked about tax allowable expenses at D&T. I hope you found it helpful. Expenses will be different for every business, depending on their trade and the type of business. So it's always worth checking with us to see if an expense is allowable first.
We especially recommend checking with an accountant before making any large purchases, for example cars or business equipment, to avoid disappointment. If you have any questions, please get in contact with us and we look forward to seeing you at the next Finance Friday.